Jake Morrison wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the clock on the wall. His shift had ended 20 minutes ago, but he wanted to finish adjusting the power relay before he left. The job could wait until tomorrow, but Jake never liked leaving things half done. That was just how he was built. He worked as an engineer on Harmony Station, a massive structure that floated in orbit around a planet called Velos 9. The station was only 3 years old, built as a place where humans could meet with alien species. Dozens of different aliens came through the station every day. Some were friendly, some were curious. Many looked at humans like they were children playing with toys they did not understand. Jake did not mind much. He kept his head down and did his work. He fixed things that broke and made sure the station kept running. It was a good job, even if it was far from Earth and far from anything that felt like home. When he finally packed up his tools and left the engineering bay, the station's commercial district was busy with evening traffic. Aliens of every shape and size walked through the wide corridors. Some had scales, some had fur, and some looked like they were made of living crystal. The air filled with strange sounds as different species spoke in languages that his translation device could barely handle. Jake walked past shops that sold items he could not identify and restaurants that served food he would never try. He had been on the station for 8 months now, and he still felt like an outsider. Earth seemed very far away. He was thinking about dinner when something small and fast crashed into his legs. Jake stumbled but caught his balance. He looked down and saw a child sitting on the floor. At least he thought it was a child. The being was small, maybe reaching up to his waist if she stood. She had smooth skin that shimmered with soft blue and purple light. Her eyes were large and dark like a deer's eyes. 2 small antler-like structures grew from her head. Jake recognized her species, the Linari. He had seen a few of them on the station before. They were quiet people who kept to themselves. The girl was crying. Tears ran down her face and the lights under her skin flickered wildly. She looked up at Jake with those big eyes and grabbed his pant leg with small 3-fingered hands. "Please," she said. Her voice came through his translation device with a desperate edge. "Please, you are human, yes?" Jake knelt down so he was closer to her level. "Yeah, I'm human. Are you okay? Are you lost?" The girl shook her head hard. More tears fell. "Not lost. I ran away. I need help. My family needs help. They told me humans are strong. They told me humans never give up. Please, you have to come with me. Please follow me home." Jake felt his chest tighten. A lost alien kid was one thing, but this sounded like something bigger, something that might be dangerous. "Hey, slow down," he said gently. "What's your name?"
Kira, the girl said.
"My name is Kira. My home is on the planet below. Bad people came. They took my father. They hurt my people. The council will not help us. No one will help us. But I heard humans help people. Is that true? Will you help?" Jake looked around. A few aliens had stopped to watch, but none of them came closer. Some looked annoyed at the disruption. Others just seemed curious. No one offered to help. "Kira, I think you need to talk to station security," Jake said. "They can help you better than I can." "No," Kira cried out. "I already tried. They said it is not their problem. They said to file a report with the Galactic Council. But the Council does not care about the Linari. We are too small, too weak. We have no power, no weapons, no influence. Please, you are my last hope." The girl's lights were dimming now, fading to almost nothing. She looked exhausted and scared and so very small. Jake thought about walking away. This was not his problem. He was just an engineer. He fixed machines, not complicated alien situations. Getting involved could cost him his job. It could get him in serious trouble. But he looked at Kira's face, at her desperate eyes, and he could not do it. He could not walk away from a scared kid asking for help. "Okay," he said quietly. "Okay, I'll come with you. Show me where your home is." Kira's lights brightened immediately. She threw her arms around Jake's neck and held on tight. "Thank you. Thank you. I knew humans were good. I knew it." Jake stood up with Kira still clinging to him. He felt every eye in the corridor watching him now. He was probably making a huge mistake. But it was too late to back out now. "We need a shuttle," Jake said. "Can you show me where to go on a map?" Kira nodded and finally let go of him. She was small enough that she had to reach up to hold his hand. Her 3 fingers wrapped around 2 of his, and she pulled him toward the docking bays. The station security checkpoint nearly stopped them. A blue-skinned guard with 4 arms looked at Jake like he was crazy. "You are taking a shuttle to the surface with an unaccompanied minor from a restricted zone?" the guard asked. "She needs help," Jake said simply. "That is not your responsibility, human. The Lenari settlement she speaks of is in unstable territory. Raiders operate in that region. You could be injured or killed." "I understand the risks," Jake said. He did not actually understand them fully, but he was committed now. The guard stared at him for a long moment, then made a sound like a sigh. "Humans, you're all insane. Permission granted, but you go at your own risk. Sign the waiver." Jake signed the digital document without reading it. Kira squeezed his hand tighter. 20 minutes later, they sat in a small 2-person shuttle descending toward the planet's surface. Kira directed him toward a region covered in deep canyons and crystal formations. The area looked beautiful from above, with light reflecting off thousands of natural crystal structures. "My home is there," Kira said, pointing to a canyon that cut deep into the surface, in the Crystal Valley. "It is the most beautiful place in the galaxy. Or it was before the Kryn came." "Who are the Kryn?" Jake asked. "Bad people, very bad. They have ships and weapons. They take our food and our crystals. They hurt anyone who tries to stop them. 3 days ago, they took my father and 5 others. They said they will come back for more. They always come back." Jake felt his stomach knot up. This was way beyond anything he was qualified to handle. But he had already come this far. The shuttle touched down near a small settlement built into the canyon walls. The buildings were made from the same crystal as the canyon itself, grown and shaped rather than built. It should have been beautiful. Instead, it looked damaged and sad. Scorch marks blackened some walls. Several structures had collapsed. The few Lenari he could see looked thin and frightened. Kira jumped out of the shuttle as soon as it landed. Come. Meet my mother. Meet my brother. They will be so happy I found help." Jake climbed out slowly and looked around. The settlement was small, maybe 200 people at most. Every face that looked at him showed surprise and hope. He had no idea what he was doing. But Kira held his hand and smiled up at him with such trust that he could not let her down now. "Lead the way," Jake said. Kira pulled him toward a crystal house built into the canyon wall. Whatever came next, Jake knew his life had just changed in ways he could not predict, all because he could not walk away from a crying child asking for help. Kira's home was a single large room carved from the canyon's crystal walls. The walls glowed with soft light, creating shadows that danced across the floor. Simple furniture filled the space, all of it made from shaped crystal that must have taken years to grow properly. Despite the beauty, Jake could see the signs of struggle everywhere. The food storage area was nearly empty. Blankets were worn thin. Everything looked tired and used. A female Lenari stood near the back of the room, her lights flickering with shock when she saw Jake. She was taller than Kira, nearly reaching Jake's chest, with longer antlers and patterns that glowed soft green. "Kira," the woman gasped. "You ran away. I have been so worried. And you brought a human." "Mother, this is Jake," Kira said proudly. "He came to help us. He is going to save Father." Kira's mother looked at Jake with an expression he could not quite read. Fear, maybe, or hope, or maybe both mixed together. "I am Sela," she said quietly. "Kira's mother. I apologize for my daughter. She should not have bothered you with our problems." "She did not bother me," Jake said. "She asked for help." "That is different." A small boy peeked out from behind Sela. He looked like a smaller version of Kira with lights that barely glowed at all. He could not have been more than 5 human years old. "That is Finn, my son," Sela said. She put a protective hand on the boy's shoulder. "Please sit. I will explain what has happened, though I do not know what you can do about it." Jake sat on a crystal bench that was surprisingly comfortable. Kira sat next to him, still holding his hand like she was afraid he might disappear. Finn watched him with wide, curious eyes from behind his mother. Sela took a deep breath and began to speak. 6 months ago, a ship landed near our settlement. We thought they were traders at first. The Lenari have always welcomed visitors. But these were not traders. They were Kryn, raiders, thieves. "What do they want?" Jake asked. "Everything. Our food, our crystals, anything of value. The first time they came, they just took what they wanted and left. We thought it was over, but they came back 2 weeks later, and then again. Now they come every few weeks. Each time they take more. Each time they become more violent." Sela's lights dimmed to almost nothing. We sent messages to the Galactic Council. We begged for help. But the Lenari are not important to the galaxy. We have no military. We have no political power. We are just farmers and crystal growers. The council sent us a message saying our case was low priority. Low priority? While our people starve and live in fear. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. What about other Lenari? Do you have a home world? A government? We do, but it is far from here. The settlement is 3 generations old. We left our home world because it became too crowded. We wanted peace and space to grow our crystals. Now we are too far away for anyone to help us quickly. By the time aid arrives, if it ever does, we will all be dead or scattered. 3 days ago, they took my husband Dren, Sela continued. Her voice cracked. They took 5 others too. They said if we do not have twice as much tribute ready when they return, they will kill the hostages. They come back in 2 days, Jake leaned forward. How many Kryn are there? 12 that we have seen. Maybe more at their camp. They have weapons. Energy weapons that burn. We have nothing. We grow food and crystals. We know nothing about fighting. Where is their camp? About 5 kilometers from here, near the old mine. They have ships there. 3 ships. Jake stood and walked to the entrance of the home. He looked out at the settlement. Lenari moved slowly through the streets, their lights dim. They looked defeated. The whole place felt like it was waiting to die. Take me to your village elder, Jake said. I want to talk to whoever is in charge. Sela looked confused. Why, what can you do? I do not know yet, Jake admitted. But I am not going to sit here and do nothing. Your people asked the galaxy for help and nobody came. That ends now. Kira jumped up, her lights blazing bright. I told you humans help people. Jake wished he felt as confident as Kira sounded. But he had made a promise and he was going to keep it. Sela led him through the settlement to a larger crystal building near the center. Inside, an old Lenari sat on a raised platform. His antlers were long and twisted with age, and his lights barely flickered. Other Lenari filled the room, maybe 20 of them. They all turned to stare when Jake entered. This is Elder Taven, Sela said. He leads our settlement. The old Lenari studied Jake with tired eyes. A human. Sela, why have you brought a human to our council chamber? He came to help us, Kira said before her mother could speak. I found him and asked him to help. He said yes. A murmur went through the room. Some Lenari looked hopeful. Others looked skeptical. One male with dark red patterns spoke up. A single human against 12 armed Kryn raiders? This is foolishness. We should be preparing to flee, not entertaining impossible dreams. Where will you go? Jake asked. If you run, the Kryn will just find another settlement to terrorize. Someone has to stand up to them. Easy for a human to say, the red Lenari said. Humans are known for their aggression, for their wars. We are not warriors. We are farmers. I am not a warrior either, Jake said. I am an engineer. I fix machines. But I know how to solve problems. And you have a problem that needs solving. Elder Taven raised a hand for silence. What is your name, human? Jake Morrison. Jake Morrison, I appreciate your courage in coming here. But my people have no weapons, no training, and no hope. The Kryn will return in 2 days. We cannot raise twice the tribute they demanded. We cannot fight them. We cannot save the hostages. All we can do is try to minimize the deaths when they come. No, Jake said firmly. That is not all you can do. You can fight back. With what? The red Lenari demanded. Our farming tools? Our bare hands? With your brains, Jake said. You built this entire settlement from crystal. You grow structures that can hold power and transmit light. You have technology I have never seen before. You are engineers in your own way. You just need to think differently. He walked to the center of the room. The Kryn think you are weak. They think you will just roll over and accept whatever they do. That is their biggest mistake. You have home field advantage. You know this canyon. You know these crystal formations. You have tools and equipment they do not expect. We do not have weapons, Sela said quietly. You do not need to kill them, Jake said. You just need to make it so costly and difficult to raid you that they decide to go somewhere else. Bullies are all the same, no matter what species. They pick on easy targets. Stop being an easy target. Elder Taven leaned forward. You truly believe we can defend ourselves? I believe you can try, and trying is better than giving up. On Earth we have a saying. We don't start fights, but we finish them. You did not start this fight, but you can finish it. A younger Linari stepped forward. She had bright yellow patterns and carried what looked like a mining tool. If we do this, if we try to fight back, some of us might die. Some of you might die if you do nothing, Jake said. At least this way you die standing up. But I am not planning on anyone dying. I am planning on winning. The room fell silent. Jake could feel them thinking, weighing options, feeling the first tiny spark of hope against overwhelming fear. Finally, Elder Taven stood. His lights brightened slightly. If we do this, if we try your plan, you will help us? I will do everything I can, Jake promised. Then we will try. But we have less than 2 days. How can we possibly prepare in time? Jake smiled. You let me worry about that. First, I need to see what resources you have. Show me your crystal technology. Show me your tools. Show me your mining equipment. Then show me a map of this canyon and every tunnel and cave around here. Kira grabbed his hand again. See, Mother? I told you he would help. Humans always help. Jake hoped he could live up to that faith. He had no military training, no combat experience. He was just an engineer with a stubborn refusal to accept defeat. But maybe that would be enough. It had to be enough, because in 2 days the Kryn would return, and this time, they were going to get a surprise they would never forget. Jake spent the first hours after the meeting doing something that confused the Linari. He asked questions. Hundreds of questions. He wanted to know everything about their settlement, their technology, their daily lives. He asked about the Kryn, their patterns, their ships, their weapons. The Linari were patient with him, even when his questions seemed strange. The settlement's crystal technology amazed him. The Linari did not just use crystals for building. They grew them for specific purposes. Some crystals stored solar energy, others focused and redirected light. Some could produce sounds at specific frequencies. The Linari had spent generations perfecting this technology, but they had only ever used it for peaceful purposes. Jake's mind raced with possibilities. He examined the mining equipment they used to extract crystals from the canyon walls, heavy machinery that could cut through solid rock, tools that could crack and split stone along precise lines, equipment that could create controlled explosions for tunnel work. These are not weapons, a Linari named Tara said. She was the settlement's head engineer. These are tools for construction. Everything is a weapon if you use it right, Jake said. A hammer builds houses, but it can also break things. We just need to be creative. He studied maps of the canyon with Elder Taven and several other Linari who knew the area well. The settlement sat in a narrow valley with high walls on both sides. Multiple caves and tunnels connected different parts of the canyon. Some were natural, others had been carved out by the Linari over the years. The Kryn always land their ships here. Elder Taven pointed to a wide area near the settlement entrance. Then they walk into the village on foot. Usually 12 of them, heavily armed. Do they ever split up? Sometimes. Most stay in the village while a few go to the crystal storage areas to collect tribute. Jake smiled. So they get comfortable. They walk around like they own the place. They do not expect resistance. Because we have never given them any reason to expect it, Sela said quietly. She had been following Jake around all morning, watching him work. That is about to change, Jake said. He pointed to several locations on the map. We need to set up defensive positions here, here, and here. We need crystal arrays positioned to reflect sunlight directly into the valley entrance. We need sonic emitters placed at these locations, and we need to prepare controlled collapse points in these tunnel sections. Tara looked at the map with growing understanding. You want to turn our home into a trap. I want to make it defensible, Jake corrected. There is a difference. We are not trying to kill anyone. We are making it impossible for them to attack you safely. We make it cost too much, risk too much, and they will go elsewhere. What about the hostages? Sela asked. My husband and the others are still at the Kryn camp. Jake had been thinking about that problem. We cannot rescue them during the main defense. We would be spread too thin, but while the Kryn are busy here dealing with our surprises, we can send a small team to their camp. The element of surprise works both ways. Who would go? Elder Taven asked. Our people have no combat training. Neither do I, Jake admitted. But I know how to sneak around. And I am betting your people know these canyons better than the Kryn do. Are there any other ways to reach their camp besides the direct route? A young Linari male named Vex spoke up. He had been quiet during most of the discussions. There is a crystal cave system that runs under the canyon floor. We use it sometimes to transport materials without going above ground. One branch of the caves comes out near the old mine where the Kryn camp is located. Perfect, Jake said. We use that. Small team, quiet approach, get in and get out. I will go, Kira said. She had been sitting nearby, listening to everything. Absolutely not, Sela said immediately. Mother, I can fit in small spaces. I know the caves. And I found Jake. I should help finish what I started. Jake knelt down to Kira's level. Your mother is right. This is going to be dangerous. You said we should not give up. You said we should stand and fight. How can I tell other young Linari to be brave if I hide while others take risks? The logic was solid even if Jake did not like it. He looked at Sela, who seemed torn between pride and terror. She will not go to the actual camp, Jake said, but maybe she could guide others through the caves. Stay at a safe distance? Sela closed her eyes. She is so much like her father, stubborn and brave. She opened her eyes and looked at Kira. You may guide the team through the caves, but you stay hidden when they reach the camp. You promise me? I promise, Mother, Kira said, her lights glowing bright with excitement. The rest of the day passed in a blur of activity. Jake worked with Terra and other Linari engineers to modify their crystal arrays. They positioned large crystals at key points around the settlement. When sunlight hit them at the right angle, they could redirect the light in concentrated beams, enough to blind but not permanently harm. They took sonic emitters from old warning systems and repurposed them. The Kryn had excellent hearing, better than humans or Linari. A sonic pulse at the right frequency would disorient them badly. Jake showed them how to set up controlled collapse points in the tunnels. Small explosive charges in precise locations. If triggered, they would drop enough rock to block passages without causing major structural damage. This feels wrong, an older Linari said as they worked. We are peaceful people. We do not hurt others. You are not hurting them, Jake said. You are protecting yourselves. There is a difference. If someone breaks into your home, you have the right to defend it. That is not violence. That is justice. As the sun began to set on the first day, Jake realized how exhausted he was, but there was still so much to do. The Linari worked alongside him, their initial skepticism fading as they saw the plan taking shape. They moved with purpose now. Their lights burned brighter. That evening, Jake sat outside Sela's home looking up at the stars. The settlement had no artificial lights at night. The Linari preferred natural darkness, with only their own bioluminescence to guide them. It was beautiful in a way Earth cities never were. Kira came out and sat next to him. Are you scared? Jake thought about lying, but decided Kira deserved the truth. Yeah, I am scared. Me too, Kira said. But less scared than before. Before I felt helpless. Now I feel like we have a chance. That is all anyone can ask for, Jake said. A chance? Why did you come with me? Kira asked. You could have said no. You could have walked away. Why did you help us? Jake was quiet for a moment. On Earth, we have a lot of stories about heroes. Big, strong people who save the day. But the truth is, most heroes are just regular people who could not walk away when someone needed help. I am not special, Kira. I just could not leave you crying in that corridor. I think that makes you very special, Kira said. She leaned against his arm. When I have children, I will tell them about the human who came when we called. The human who showed us how to be strong. The next day moved even faster. Jake sent a coded message to Harmony Station asking for help. He did not expect much, but he had to try. To his surprise, he got a response within hours. A small shuttle landed near the settlement that afternoon. Claire stepped out carrying several crates. She was a security officer Jake had worked with before. They had become friends over shared meals in the station cafeteria. You are insane, Claire said when she saw him. Completely insane. Probably, Jake agreed. But I could use the help. Claire shook her head but smiled. I brought non-lethal weapons, medical supplies, and protein rations. I also brought this. She held up a small device, emergency beacon. If things go really wrong, hit this and station security will come running. Probably too late to help, but at least they will find your body. You are a real optimist, Jake said. I am a realist, but I am also your friend, and I could not let you do this alone. She looked around at the Linari, who were staring at her with wide eyes. So these are the people you are risking your career for? These are the people who asked for help when no one else would listen, Jake said. Claire nodded slowly. Then let us make sure they get it. With Claire's help, the defensive preparations accelerated. She showed the Lenari how to use the non-lethal stun weapons, simple point-and-shoot devices that would drop a Kryn without killing them. She also helped Jake plan the timing of their defensive systems. The key is coordination, Claire explained to the group of Lenari who would be operating the various defenses. Jake will be in the center of the village. When he gives the signal, you activate your assigned system. Not before. We need surprise on our side. Vex and Kira worked together to map out the cave route to the Kryn camp. 4 other young Lenari volunteered to join the rescue team. They were all scared, but they were done being victims. As the second day drew to a close, everything was ready. The crystals were positioned. The sonic emitters were armed. The collapse charges were set. The rescue team knew their route. The defenders knew their jobs. Jake stood in the village center as the sun set. Around him, Lenari gathered. They were still frightened. Their lights still flickered with uncertainty. But there was something else there now, too. Something that had not been there before. Hope. Elder Taven addressed the settlement. Tomorrow, the Kryn return. They expect to find us broken and obedient. They expect to take what they want and hurt who they wish. They are wrong. Tomorrow we show them that the Lenari are not helpless. Tomorrow we stand together. The Lenari did not cheer. That was not their way. But their lights pulsed in unison, a wave of bioluminescence that swept through the crowd. It was their way of showing unity. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. These people trusted him. Kira trusted him. If his plan failed, people could die. The hostages could be killed. The settlement could be destroyed. But if they did nothing, all of that would happen anyway. At least this way, they were fighting back. Sela found him after the gathering. Thank you, Jake Morrison. Whatever happens tomorrow, thank you for giving us hope. Thank me after we win, Jake said. We already won, Sela said quietly. We stood up. We refused to give in. That is a victory the Kryn can never take away. Jake hoped she was right, because tomorrow everything they had built would be tested. Tomorrow the Kryn would come, and tomorrow they would learn that the Lenari were done being prey. The morning arrived too quickly. Jake barely slept, running through the plan over and over in his mind. He checked every system one more time as the sun rose over the canyon. The crystals were positioned correctly. The sonic emitters had full power. The collapse charges were armed and ready. Everything was as ready as it could be. The Lenari moved through the settlement quietly, taking their assigned positions. They wore their normal clothing, trying to look as natural as possible. The goal was to appear defeated and compliant until the perfect moment. Then everything would change. Claire checked her weapons one last time. You know this is crazy, right? You have mentioned that, Jake said, just making sure you are aware. 12 armed raiders against farmers and 2 humans. The odds are terrible. The odds were terrible for humanity a lot of times in history. We are still here. Fair point, Claire admitted. She took up position near one of the crystal arrays, hidden from view but ready to act. Kira and her rescue team prepared to enter the cave system. Sela held her daughter close one last time. Be safe, Sela whispered. Come back to me. I will, Mother. We will bring Father home. Vex carried a small light crystal to guide them through the dark caves. The other 4 Lenari on the team looked nervous but determined. They entered the cave entrance and disappeared into the darkness below. Jake took his position in the village center, where he could see most of the settlement. Elder Taven stood beside him. This was important. The Kryn needed to see the village elder submitting. It would make them overconfident. They will be here soon, Taven said quietly. His lights were deliberately dim, making him look weak and afraid. Remember the plan, Jake said. Let them walk into the village. Let them spread out. Then I give the signal. And if something goes wrong, then we improvise. Humans are good at that. The wait was the worst part. Minutes felt like hours. Jake's heart pounded in his chest. His mouth was dry. Every sound made him jump. This was nothing like engineering work. This was terrifying. Then he heard it. The low rumble of ships approaching. 3 Kryn vessels appeared over the canyon rim and descended into the valley. They landed in the usual spot, their engines kicking up dust and small rocks. The ship ramps lowered. Kryn warriors emerged. They were large reptilian beings, easily 7 feet tall with scales that looked like armor. Each carried an energy weapon. Their leader was obvious, He was bigger than the others, with a scar running down the left side of his face. He walked with confidence like he owned the world. That must be Grask, Taven whispered. Their leader. 12 Kryn total. Just as expected. They formed up and marched toward the village, weapons ready but not raised. They expected no resistance. Why would they? The Lenari had never fought back before. Jake forced himself to stand still as the Kryn entered the settlement. His instincts screamed at him to run, to hide. But he was the bait. He needed to be seen. Grask spotted him immediately. The Kryn leader stopped and stared. Then he laughed. It was a harsh grating sound. A human. Here. How interesting. Grask's voice came through Jake's translator as a deep growl. The little deer people found a pet. I am not their pet, Jake said calmly. I am their friend, and I am here to tell you that the raids end today. Grask laughed harder. Several other Kryn joined in. You hear that, brothers? The raids end today. This soft human says so. I have heard humans are weak, Grask continued, walking closer to Jake. Barely worthy of space travel. Soft bodies. No natural weapons. No scales or armor. Just pink skin that tears so easily. I have heard Kryn are bullies who pick on peaceful people because they are too scared to fight real opponents. Jake shot back. The laughter stopped. Grask's eyes narrowed. Careful, human. You are very small and very alone. I am not alone, Jake said. And you are not as smart as you think you are. Grask made a gesture. His warriors spread out through the village, moving toward the crystal storage areas and food warehouses. They moved with practiced ease, like this was just another routine robbery. Where is our tribute? Grask demanded. We asked for double. I see nothing prepared. That is because you are not getting any tribute, Elder Taven said. His voice shook, but he stood his ground. Old one, do not test me. I have your people at my camp. Do you want to see them again alive? We want them back, Taven said. But we will not buy them with our lives and our home. Grask pulled his energy weapon and pointed it at Taven. Then I will start with you. Now, Jake shouted. Everything happened at once. The crystal arrays activated. Concentrated beams of sunlight flooded into the valley from a dozen different angles. The reflection was blinding. The Kryn cried out, covering their eyes. Their sensitive vision could not handle the intensity. The sonic emitters fired. High-frequency pulses filled the air. The Kryn stumbled. Their excellent hearing turned against them. The sound disrupted their balance and coordination. Claire emerged from her hiding spot and fired her stun weapon. The first Kryn dropped, then the second. The non-lethal rounds hit with enough force to knock down even these large warriors. Lenari defenders activated the collapse charges. Tunnels behind the Kryn sealed shut, cutting off their retreat to the ships. Rock and dust filled the air. The Kryn tried to fight back, but they could not see clearly and could not hear properly. They fired their weapons blindly. Energy blasts scorched crystal walls and dirt, but hit nothing important. Jake ran to Elder Taven and pulled him to safety behind a crystal barrier. The old Lenari's lights pulsed with shock and excitement. It is working. Your plan is working. Do not celebrate yet, Jake said. We still need to capture them, not just confuse them. Claire moved through the chaos with practiced efficiency. She dropped 3 more Kryn with precise shots. The Lenari defenders used their knowledge of the settlement to stay hidden and safe, while the Kryn stumbled around in confusion. Grask roared in fury. Even blinded and disoriented, he was dangerous. He fired his weapon in wide arcs, trying to hit anything. One blast came close to Jake, the heat singing his arm. Turn off those lights, Grask screamed. Find cover, regroup. But there was nowhere to regroup. The settlement had become a maze of light, sound, and hidden defenders. Every time the Kryn tried to form up, another system activated. More light, more sound, more confusion. Jake grabbed a stun weapon from a supply crate and fired at Grask. The shot hit the Kryn leader in the shoulder. Grask staggered but did not fall. He was tougher than the others. Human, Grask snarled. I will tear you apart. He charged toward Jake's position. Claire fired at him but missed. Grask was moving too fast despite his injuries. Jake did the only thing he could think of. He ran. Not away from Grask, but toward him. At the last second, he dropped and slid on the smooth crystal ground, passing right under the larger alien's legs. Grask tried to turn but was still disoriented from the sonic pulses. He lost his balance and crashed into a crystal wall. Jake scrambled to his feet and fired the stun weapon 3 more times at point-blank range. Finally, Grask went down. The fight lasted maybe 10 minutes. It felt like hours. When it was over, all 12 Kryn Raiders were stunned, disarmed, and secured with binding cords. The Lenari defenders emerged from their positions, lights blazing with victory, but Jake did not feel victorious yet. The hostages. We need to check on the rescue team. As if summoned by his words, Lenari began emerging from the cave entrance. First came Vex, then the other team members, and behind them 6 more Lenari, thin, injured but alive. Sela ran forward. Dren, oh Dren. A male Lenari collapsed into her arms. He looked terrible, covered in bruises and barely able to stand, but his lights pulsed with joy. Sela, you are safe. The children? We are fine, Father, Kira said, appearing from the cave. We saved you, just like Jake said we could. Dren looked at Jake with tears in his large eyes. You are the human my daughter spoke of, the one who came when we called. I am just an engineer, Jake said. Your people did the hard part. The rescued hostages told their story. The rescue team had used the caves to reach the Kryn camp undetected. While the main force was at the settlement, only 2 guards remained at the camp. The rescue team used the same stun weapons to drop the guards, freed the prisoners, and sabotaged the Kryn ships so they could not pursue. It was Kira's idea to disable the ships, Vex said. She is braver than any of us. Claire finished securing the last of the Kryn raiders. What do we do with them now? We contact the Galactic Council, Elder Taven said, with human witnesses and documented evidence. They cannot ignore this anymore. Jake looked at the captured Kryn. Grask was starting to wake up, his eyes focusing on Jake with pure hatred. You made a mistake today, Jake said to him. You thought peaceful meant weak. You thought no weapons meant no fight. You were wrong. This changes nothing, Grask growled. There are more like us. They will come for revenge. Let them come, Elder Taven said, standing tall. We are not afraid anymore. And now the galaxy knows that the Lenari have friends. Human friends. Friends who do not abandon those in need. Grask said nothing more, but Jake could see the realization in his eyes. The easy target was gone. The helpless prey had become something else. Kira ran to Jake and hugged his legs. We did it. We actually did it. You did it, Jake corrected. You were brave enough to ask for help. That took more courage than anything I did. The settlement began to celebrate. It was quiet by human standards, but the Lenari lights pulsed and glowed in patterns that filled the canyon with moving color. It was the most beautiful thing Jake had ever seen. But as he watched the celebration, he knew this was just the beginning. Word would spread. Other settlements would hear what happened here. Other species who felt powerless would wonder if they could stand up too. And Jake realized that his life had changed forever. He could not go back to just being an engineer who fixed machines. He had seen what was possible when someone cared enough to help. When someone refused to accept that might makes right, the galaxy was about to learn something about humanity. Something important. Humans show up when you call for help, and they do not leave until the job is done. The days following the battle passed in a blur of activity. Claire sent a detailed report to Harmony Station and the Galactic Council. She included video evidence, witness statements, and documentation of the Kryn raids. Within hours, representatives from 3 different galactic organizations contacted the settlement. What the Lenari could not accomplish with months of pleading, Jake and Claire achieved in one day. The galaxy paid attention when humans were involved. For better or worse, humanity had earned a reputation as a species that did not back down from fights. A Galactic Council peacekeeping ship arrived within a week. They took custody of the captured Kryn raiders and promised a full investigation. They also assigned a protection detail to watch over the Lenari settlement until the threat was fully resolved. The council representative, a floating being made of energy who called itself Zen, spoke with Elder Taven and Jake. This situation should never have escalated to this point, Zen said. The Lenari requests for aid should have been answered promptly. But they were not, Jake said flatly. Because the Lenari have no political power. Because they are small and peaceful. You ignored them until humans got involved. Zen pulsed with what might have been embarrassment. You are correct. The council's bureaucracy failed these people. We will implement reforms to prevent this from happening again. I will believe that when I see it, Jake said. In the meantime, make sure the Lenari are protected. They earned that much. After the council representative left, Elder Taven placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. "You're angry at them." "I'm angry at a system that only helps people who are strong enough to demand help. That is not justice. That is just power protecting power." "You are right to be angry," Taven said. "But look at what your anger accomplished. You turned it into action. You helped us when no one else would. That is the difference between feeling angry and being a hero." "I am not a hero," Jake protested. "I just did what anyone should do." "Exactly," Taven said with a gentle smile. "You did what anyone should do, but most do not. That is what makes you special." The settlement slowly returned to normal life, but it was a different normal. The Lenari walked with more confidence now. Their lights burned brighter. Children played in areas that had been empty for months. They were still peaceful, still gentle, but they were no longer afraid. Sela invited Jake to dinner at her home several days after the battle. Dren was recovering well, his injuries healing faster than Jake expected. Finn played quietly in the corner while Kira sat next to Jake, refusing to leave his side. "We do not know how to thank you," Dren said. "You gave us back our lives." "You gave yourselves your lives back," Jake said. "I just helped you see that you could." "My daughter believes in you completely," Sela said. "She tells everyone about the human who came when she asked. She wants to be an engineer like you now." Kira nodded enthusiastically. "I want to learn how to build things, how to solve problems, how to help people the way you helped us." Jake felt his chest tighten with emotion. "Then I will teach you everything I know. When you are older, maybe you can come to Harmony Station, learn human engineering alongside Lenari crystal technology. Imagine what you could create." "Really?" Kira's lights blazed so bright the whole room lit up. "You would teach me?" "Of course. You were brave enough to find help when no one else would. That takes intelligence and courage. You will make an excellent engineer." Sela reached across the table and took Jake's hand. Her touch was warm and gentle. In Lenari culture, when someone saves a family member's life, they become part of that family. "You are no longer just our friend, Jake Morrison. You are family. Our home is your home forever." She placed something in his palm. It was a small crystal pendant on a woven cord. The crystal glowed with soft blue light. "This is a family crystal," Dren explained. "Every family grows one when they establish a new home. It contains a piece of our settlement's heart crystal. As long as you wear it, you carry a part of our family with you." Jake put the pendant around his neck. He did not trust himself to speak. He had come to this settlement as a stranger following a crying child. Now he had a family light years from Earth. The following week, Jake prepared to return to Harmony Station. He needed to face the consequences of his unauthorized mission. He might be fired. He might be disciplined. He did not care. It had been worth it. Claire left a day before him, returning to her duties. Before she left, she told him something that surprised him. "The station commander wants to see you when you get back, but not to fire you. Apparently, a dozen other species have contacted Harmony Station, asking for human assistance. They all have similar situations to the Lenari, small communities being terrorized, requests for help being ignored." "What did the commander say?" Jake asked. He said it is not his problem. But then Earth's diplomatic office got involved. They see an opportunity, a chance to build goodwill across the galaxy. Claire smiled. "They want to create a formal program. Humans helping vulnerable species, and they want you to run it." Jake was stunned. "Me? I am just an engineer." "You are the engineer who helped the Lenari defend themselves. You are the human who proved that sometimes the best weapon is refusing to let bad things happen." Claire punched his arm lightly. "Do not mess this up. A lot of people are counting on you now." On his last day in the settlement, Jake stood in the village center. The entire population gathered to say goodbye. They gave him gifts, crystals that glowed with stored light, woven items made from canyon plants, drawings from the children showing the battle and the victory. Elder Taven spoke to the crowd. "Jake Morrison came to us in our darkest hour. He did not come because he had to. He did not come because we could pay him. He came because a child asked for help and he could not say no. That is the measure of a person's character. We will never forget what he did for us, and we will teach our children about the human who showed us that being peaceful does not mean being helpless." Jake tried to respond, but Kira tugged on his hand. "You are coming back, right? You promised to teach me." "I will come back," Jake promised. "And when I do, we will start your lessons. Will you bring more humans? People who can help other settlements like you helped us?" Jake thought about that. Maybe, would you like that? Yes, Kira said firmly. Everyone should have a friend like you. Everyone should have someone who comes when they call for help. As Jake's shuttle lifted off from the canyon, he looked down at the settlement one last time. The Lenari had gathered in the village center. Their bioluminescence created patterns in the gathering darkness. They were spelling out words in their light language. Thank you, friend. Come home soon. Jake touched the crystal pendant around his neck. He had come to this planet as an engineer. He was leaving as something more. Someone who had made a real difference. Someone who had changed lives and been changed in return. 3 months later, Jake stood in a conference room on Harmony Station. 30 humans sat around the table. Engineers, medics, teachers, security personnel, all volunteers. All people who had heard about the Lenari settlement and wanted to help. We are calling it the Harmony Initiative, Jake explained. Our mission is simple. We respond to requests for help from species who have nowhere else to turn. We do not fight wars. We do not take sides in political conflicts. We help communities defend themselves against bullies, oppressors, and raiders. A woman named Susan raised her hand. What if we fail? What if people get hurt? People might get hurt, Jake said honestly. But people are already getting hurt. The only difference is whether we try to help or walk away. I cannot walk away anymore, not after what I have seen. An older man named Paul spoke up. The Galactic Council does not officially support this program. They think humans are overstepping. Let them think that, Jake said. We are not doing this for the Council's approval. We are doing it because it is right. He activated a display screen. Dozens of requests for help scrolled across it. Each one from a different species. Each one telling a story similar to the Lenari's. Communities in trouble. People suffering, no one listening. These are our missions, Jake said. Each one is a settlement that needs help. A group of people who asked the galaxy for assistance and were ignored. We are going to change that. Kira appeared on the screen via video link. She was at the Lenari settlement wearing a student's uniform. She had started taking engineering courses through remote learning. Hello, humans, Kira said. Her English had improved dramatically. I am Kira. Jake Morrison saved my family and my home. Now I'm learning how to help others. If you join the Harmony Initiative, you will save people like my family. You will give hope to those who have none. Thank you for being the kind of people who come when called. The room was quiet after Kira's message ended. Then Susan stood up. I am in. Where do I go first? One by one, the others stood. Paul, a young woman named Lisa, a man named Greg. All of them volunteering, all of them ready. Jake felt pride wash over him. This was bigger than him now. This was a movement, an idea. The idea that strength should protect the weak, not prey on them. That technology and intelligence should solve problems, not create them. That saying yes to someone in need was always the right choice. Over the next year, Harmony Initiative teams helped 17 different settlements across 8-star systems. They taught defensive tactics, improved infrastructure, and stood beside communities that had been abandoned by the larger galaxy. Not every mission was successful. 3 humans were injured. 1 settlement decided to relocate rather than fight. But lives were saved. Hope was restored. Jake returned to the Lenari settlement regularly. He watched Kira grow into a brilliant young engineer. She designed a new crystal defense system that other Lenari settlements adopted. She taught other young Lenari about courage and self-reliance. The Crystal Canyon, where it all began, became a training ground for the Harmony Initiative. New volunteers came there to learn from the Lenari, to understand that helping others was not about imposing solutions, but empowering people to help themselves. 2 years after Jake first followed a crying alien child home, he stood once again in the Lenari village center. But this time he was not alone. 50 humans and representatives from a dozen alien species gathered there for a ceremony. The Galactic Council had officially recognized the Harmony Initiative. They did not fund it, but they acknowledged its work. More importantly, other species had started their own similar programs. The idea was spreading. Elder Taven, now very old but still bright-eyed, spoke to the assembly. 2 years ago, we were victims waiting to die. 1 human changed that. Jake Morrison could have walked past my granddaughter Kira in that station corridor. He could have said our problems were not his concern, but he did not. He came, he helped. He showed us who we could be. Taven gestured to a new structure in the village center. It was a crystal monument, grown and shaped by Lenari artisans. It showed a human figure standing beside a Lenari child. The crystal held words in both English and Lenari script. Please follow me home. This monument reminds us of a simple truth, Taven said. When someone asks for help, the right answer is always yes. That is the lesson humanity taught us. That is the lesson we will teach others. Kira stood beside Jake, now a young adult and a full engineer. What you started here changed everything, Jake. Not just for the Lenari. For everyone. The galaxy is different because you could not walk away from a crying child. Jake looked at the monument, at the gathering of species working together, at the settlement that had transformed from victims to defenders to teachers. I'm just one person, he said quietly. I just did what felt right. That is the point, Kira said. One person doing what feels right can change the galaxy. You proved that. Now thousands of others are following your example. As the ceremony ended and the crowd dispersed, Jake walked to the edge of the settlement. He looked out over the crystal canyon, remembering the first time he had seen it. How frightened and uncertain he had been. How impossible the task ahead had seemed. He touched the family crystal at his neck. It still glowed with the same soft light, a reminder of where it all began. A reminder that the most important journeys start with the simplest choice. To help, to care, to come when someone calls. Jake smiled. Somewhere in the galaxy there was probably another child crying, another community in trouble, another person asking for help. And now, thanks to what started here in this crystal canyon, someone would answer that call, because that was what humans did. That was who they were at their best. They followed crying children home, and they did not leave until things were made right. That was the real transformation, not just of the Lenari, not just of Jake, but of humanity's place among the stars. They were not the strongest species, not the smartest, not the most advanced, but they were the ones who showed up, the ones who helped, the ones who refused to accept that might makes right. And in a galaxy full of power and politics, sometimes that was the most revolutionary thing of all. The end.